everyone! Today I am coming to you from voiceover mode because I am baking something. So today I'm making cream puffs. To start off with, I put in egg yolks. I'm making a custard, by the way. So just to preface this is for a French project that I'm doing, and I'm making a Algerian based cream puff, which means I'm going to do a cinnamon and clove custard with just like a normal cream puff and whipped cream on top. So as you can see here, I'm beating the eggs to make them nice and light and fluffy, and I'll put the recipe in the description below in case you want to actually do this. This isn't like a tasty video or anything. It's just me making something so that you can see what I'm making. But yeah, so as you can see, you beat the eggs for a very, very long time, and then I believe next you add milk. I think, if I'm correct. Yep, there's the milk. So you're adding milk in, and when I started off mixing, I started off with the mixer on, and then I remembered when I had made cream puffs before, they said not to use a hand mixer like that because you'll get foam, and something about that screws with the custard. So as you can see, I turned the mixer off. But yeah, I don't know. I have very little experience. I've made this recipe once. Well, not this recipe in particular, but I've made cream puffs once before, and they were pretty good. It was the only problem was that it was a croquembouche, which was also for a French project that was in 8th grade. But the problem was I burnt the caramel that's supposed to go on top. If you know what a croquembouche is, it's a caramel tower of cream puffs, and I burnt the caramel, so I didn't think it tasted good, but people were like, oh yeah, it tastes good. I'm like, no, there's burnt caramel. But anyway, here I am with the pot, the saucepan, that's the right word, right? Anyway, I put together sugar, cornstarch, which was really difficult to measure out because it was in a box, and it was a third of a cup of cornstarch, and I'm like, well, okay, I can just dip it into the box. No, I can't. It's a very narrow box. As you can see, I was just literally scraping cornstarch off of the box because it sticks to everything. So there's my measuring very messily, and I'm cleaning throughout this video, as you can see. So anyway, there's the cornstarch, and then I'm also adding salt because you gotta put salt in anything that you're making to, add in that balance of flavors. I think I've been baking for 5 years, and I don't know anything scientific. All I know is that I follow recipes. I think salt is to balance out the flavor, to increase the sweetness, if that makes sense. How in something sweet and salty you taste the sweetness more, I guess is what that makes sense. But anyway, off of salt, I just added cloves, and then I'm about to add cinnamon, so that'll be the whole Algerian thing. Well, that'll be what is based off of. And yeah, and then I whisked, that's a weird word, whisk. Talking is really difficult for me, apparently. So as I'm gone for a very long time, I don't know where I went. I think I was cleaning a dish, just kind of disappeared. I was like, oh yeah, let me clean as I go, but then I was like, oh, I'm out of the frame. So anyway, as I'm mixing this, you can see there's quite a bit of powder, and that's from the cornstarch. I blame that completely, and I'm trying to brush away. I don't know what I was doing, honestly. So then I'm adding a little bit of the egg milk mixture in here, and you can see that that's making kind of a what's it called? What did the recipe say? I don't know what it said, but it's making a mixture of it to begin with, and then I add more in, and I'm not sure the specific reason for this. I'll put the website that I used in the description as well, so you can see what they think that you should do and why you should do that. I don't know. Anyway, so there's the rest of the egg milk. And then after this, you put in on the stovetop over medium-low heat, and this took so long. I cut this clip down so much already, and it was already 800 speed. Anyway, so you do this for 20 to 25 minutes until it starts to thicken, and then once it starts to thicken, you stir it for once it starts to boil. Once it does that, you do it for 1 more minute, and then you take it off the heat, which I'm about to do right now. So yeah, and then you pour it into a bowl, and what I didn't include here is I put it into an ice bath for a few minutes, so you can, it'll cool down faster and it won't curdle. And then now I'm on to the cream puffs, and you preheat your oven to 375 degrees, which I just did there, as you can see. And I forgot to film this part, but you add water and butter into a pan, and then I'm about to add the salt, which, no, that's sugar and salt. but you'll need salt too. And you bring this to a boil, as you'll see here in a minute. And yes, this is your base for, I believe it's called a pâte à choux, which is, you can use this for basically any sort of like base kind of, you can probably hear my washing machine. I'm so sorry. That's just gonna kind of chill there. Anyway, a pâte à choux, you can use it for éclairs, churros, any kind of like pastry like that. So here it is, it's boiling. Yeah, and so, well, it's about to boil. I'll wait for that to happen. Ooh, water. It's very delicious. Anyway, so as you can see, it's starting to boil, and then you immediately add your flour, which it amounts in the description. But then I like panicked and took it off the burner, which is why I cut that part. But you mix it and it turns into this, and I transferred it to a bowl, and you add 4 eggs one at a time. And my main concern when doing this is don't overmix, because that'll make your cream puffs kind of like deflate, I think. So, because you overwork the gluten, and that's no bueno. That's not good. You don't want that. I don't speak Spanish. Anyway, I'm in a French class. I don't know why I did that. Anyway, so as you can see, you mix them in one at a time, so it'll look kind of funky at first, and then you keep mixing it, and it turns out I was so worried when I was doing this on another part as well. I was worried I was going to scramble the eggs because the dough was still warm, and I was like, oh no. So the whole time I was just like, don't scramble, because that would not be tasty. A nice, scrambled egg in your cream puff, that's like 10 out of 10, would recommend. That was a joke. Anyways, so as you can see, just mixing a bunch, and yeah, so you keep doing this. And then I think this is my last egg. I was trying to be fancy and crack the egg with one hand, and I did it a few times successfully earlier, but then the shell was like, actually, no, you don't get to have fun. You get to just mess up. I don't know. There's my mom in the background. And this is an egg wash, so you put this, I was trying to be fancy there too. Anyway, so this is an egg wash. You take this, and then you put a little bit of water in it. A tablespoon, I think, is like the actual measurement, but I just kind of like turn the faucet on and put a little bit of water in. So you do that, you mix it, and this is to go on top of the cream puffs to make them brown on top, so it'll get that nice, that nice cream puff color. It'd be like, Ooh, water. I've been talking for, how long have I been talking? 7 minutes. I talked longer. Anyway, so I didn't want to use a piping bag. This was easier. I could just throw it away after. So I got a big Ziploc bag, put it in a big mason jar. This is a hack, so to keep it open so you don't have to deal with all that. And I put the dough into the piping bag, as you can see that I'm doing it right there. It took quite a bit, and the dough seems kind of liquidy, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. It should not be too thick, so that way you can pipe it out, and yeah, all the stuff. I don't know where I'm going. There I am. Okay, so cool. Clean as you go. It makes life easier. I didn't have parchment paper. Typically use parchment paper, but I just put aluminum foil on my pan and then greased it, and it worked fine. If you are going to use that method, it does cook a little bit faster. So the actual recipe said that you should cook it for about 30 minutes. Oh, and I'll get back to that here in a second. You pipe it in a little circle like this, like what I'm doing there. And then here in a minute, you wet the tip of your finger and then kind of pat down the point of the cream puff. That'll help it to have a nice shape when it's baking, as you can see with my water there. And then after you do this, you do your egg wash. So anyway, back to the baking. Instead of 30 minutes, which is what the recipe recommended, I did about 24 minutes. So when I set my timer here in a second after I do the egg wash, it'll say 20 minutes, but it's actually supposed to be, I went back through and did about 2 or 3 minutes more, so. And that's a good baking tip, is that like, if a recipe has like a guideline for how much you should bake it, try to go lower. A lot of people do this, or they go low or the middle, and I typically go lower because it's easy to bake it more. You can't bake it less when it's already been burned or overbaked. So that's Nia's baking tip for the day. So putting it in the oven, as you can see, I don't know what I was doing. I was putting it in the oven. That's what I was doing. So yeah, as you can see. And then up here, it took me a second to try and figure out how to set a timer and look into the camera at the same time. It was really difficult. I don't know why. Filming is really difficult and doing things. Alright, so here's the finished cream puffs. There's another batch that I put in the oven, but I didn't really film those. So here's me filling them with the custard that I also put into a pastry bag, which you can follow the same steps that I did for the other ones. So here's me filling a bunch of them, and it got kind of chaotic because I started running out of the custard, so I was just, and it started getting really thin, so it was just dripping everywhere, and I was like in panic mode because I'm like, I gotta pipe as quickly as possible. As you can see, it just drips. I'm so sorry that it's not. Anyway, so after all that, I made a whipped cream, which I put on top to just add a little bit of sweetness to balance out the nice rich spice of the cinnamon and the cloves, which I think it tied it all together in the end. I tried it and it was like 10 out of 10. So anyway, whipped cream, simple recipe, heavy cream, powdered sugar, and a little bit of vanilla extract. I just kind of eyeball it with the sugar. As you'll see here in a minute, I walk away to ask my family what they think because they're my selling. Those are people who I usually give my desserts. I didn't eat like 35 cream puffs by myself. That would be a lot for one day. Anyway, that's me asking them if it should be sweeter, and it typically needs to be because I usually think it is, but I like to get more approval, so I'm not just like dumping powdered sugar in because like sweet whipped cream is like 10 out of 10. I don't know why I rate things a lot. Anyway, so I just kind of like dipped it in the whipped cream and then give it that kind of look. And I was originally going to put like toasted sesame seeds on top, and I'll mention that here in a second when I'm like actually talking, but I decided just to leave it as it was, so it would be a nice like surprise when you bit into it. It's like, oh, it's not a normal cream puff. It's a cinnamon and clove cream puff. So yeah. Let me just say the whole path that this project took. It started off as it was just going to be me talking about a dessert. I don't know how to say it. It's Ghribi. It's spelled Ghribia, I think. I'll see if I can pronounce it. I can write it out here in a second. Or I'll put it on the screen. Anyway, so that was my original thing, was just going to write out the recipe. And then I was like, well, I could try to make it. And I was like, oh, it doesn't really look like something that me or my family would actually like eat, so I didn't want to waste ingredients on something that we weren't going to eat. And then I was like, well, what if I try to make it into a cream puff? And then I was like, oh, I don't know, like I was going to try and do like toasted sesame seeds, because I was like that's like, there's sesame seeds in it. So it turned up into just being an Algerian-based cream puff. So yeah, hope y'all enjoyed seeing me make it. So if you don't mind me, I'm going to go finish this and see y'all at some point in the future. Feel free to like, subscribe, do all the things that you do on YouTube. So yeah, see you sometime in the future.